and just definitely talk.
The sound was just gone.
I feel like this is such a British thing, talking about the weather.
I was like, you don't judge a plant owner by losing plants.
Hi, we're the Reading Queens, and we're here to blab about our favorite books, why we love them, and the book boyfriends we wish were real. And we're back for another episode. Welcome, and we're thrilled you're here. I'm Valia.
I'm Hanna.
I'm Joanna.
I'm Alison.
And welcome back, ladies. I'm super excited you're here. It's been a while since we talked to Alison, so I want to hear how you're doing. How's everything?
By everything, we mean how's the baby?
The baby
Yes.
is good. He's still here. He is growing. He's getting really heavy. But he is super cute. And, you know, they just like develop so quickly. I can't believe like how old he is and how much he's changed even over the last like few months since I was last on the show. So that's super exciting. We are hoping to go on holiday in a few weeks, which is really exciting because obviously we haven't been able to go anywhere because of COVID and lockdown for forever.
Right.
And we're going up to Scotland, which is one of my favourite places. And my husband's got him this like little bike seat to go on our bikes, like in between the handlebars and the seats. So we're hoping,
Aww.
we haven't really trialled it yet. We probably should try it before we go. So we're hoping he's going to be cool. And he's got him these like little sunglasses. So he looks like, it's like ski goggles.
Oh
He's,
my
like,
gosh.
cutest.
Okay, you have to take lots of pictures.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's super exciting.
He's the cutest.
Although I have to say that he still takes a lot of my time, which will probably come as no surprise to anyone who's a parent listening. So yeah, he has been taking most of my time. And so my writing has been a little bit slower, but I'm still working on Faye's Destiny, which is due to come out at the end of August. And I also had a recent new release, which is a dystopian fantasy book, which did come out like a couple of years ago, but it was in as part of a box set and it was only out for about a month. So this is a kind of re-release of that, and it might be my favorite book that I've written of all my books. It's called The Shadow Games. So it's got a few like hints of the Hunger Games, and a little bit of a kind of fantasy vibe as well. I definitely was channeling a little bit of Red Rising in there. So like all my favourite books, taking all the best bits, putting them in there. And it's got a really cute little snarky dragon in it as well.
I was going to say, when I looked at the cover, I saw the small dragon and I was like, well, I'm
Yeah, he is definitely like
I feel like any book you add like a pet dragon and you're like, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. That's out now, and I released it wide, so you can get it on any platform you want, or you should be able to. So yeah, and apart from that, the only other thing I've been doing, like life goes on, but I've been doing stuff in my garden, which is quite exciting. So we've been trying to grow lots of veggies and fruit, and yeah, that's keeping me busy as well. So that's really fun.
I'm so excited to plant my garden. I've got my seeds and I've got my plants ordered, but it's not quite yet here.
Yeah, ours is definitely like, it's really hit and miss in the UK in terms of planting.
Mm-hmm.
So last year I planted out my courgettes, so zucchini you call them, don't you?
I would rather call them courgettes. I'm always like, it's a much nicer word than zucchini. And I would like to start calling my eggplants aubergines, but everyone will just laugh at me. So I have to keep calling them eggplant. I don't really like eggplant.
Yeah, I call they're aubergines here. So anyway, but I can't grow.
Aubergines is such a nice word.
I can't grow aubergines because it's not warm enough. But I put my zucchini/courgettes out in, I think, the beginning of May last year, and then we got a really hard frost randomly in the middle of May, and everything in the garden like shriveled up and died, which made me really sad. So it's really unpredictable. We just don't know whether you're going to have like a nice summer and you're going to be able to grow tomatoes, or it's going to be like really wet and miserable and everything's going to rot. So
they always say, like, we always wait till end of May here. You can plant like radishes and peas and stuff earlier, but nobody wants to lose all their tomatoes.
No.
And we cry.
We planted earlier than that. This year we planted in the beginning of April, I think, but then it got like 99 degrees right off the bat. So we had to really scramble to like do shade and set up a bunch of stuff. So a bunch
for
of
those
it
poor little baby
burned.
plants.
Yeah. And I mean, we got like a bigger tomato plant this year just to kind of have it more established when we put it in the ground. So far so good. But yeah, that first like 2 weeks it was in the ground. We're like, no, don't burn. And we're so sorry.
You must be able to grow loads of like really nice, exotic, exciting things though, because you have such warm temperatures.
Yeah, but it's
Or is
so
it too hot?
it's so dry though. So unless you're really in the beginning of April or like middle of April, I moved a lot of my more warm loving plants, indoor plants outside. We got like a shelf and I set it up out there and stuff. And they're loving it, but you have to really, really water them. Like all the time, and that obviously takes more time. So it's kind of like, if you want to do the extra work, yeah, sure, stick them outside. They're gonna grow like weeds, but you have to watch them like a hawk so they don't burn and
I would
get
be
in
so scared to kill my plants.
Yeah, so I mean, I put out the more outside-ish indoor plants, if that makes sense. Ones that can, grow both if you really watch them outside. And so they seem to be doing well, but we'll see, because obviously like July is usually the harder month, but you never know because it's been hot already. So it's like it comes and goes in terms of like, is it going to be 115 this summer? Or is it going to be 120 regular? You're like, okay.
I can't even.
And I'm never going to
so
visit you
hard.
in July.
No, don't ever come.
No.
Honestly, the winter times like November, December, January are my favorite. Like December, January are my favorite because it's probably a nice 60, 65 outside during the day. And I'm just like, this is perfection. All these people are wearing these like huge coats and I'm over here in like short sleeve shirt and just like loving life in the 65-degree weather because it's like really nice air. It's crisp, it's clean because, everything been burned away basically. But it's like a really nice, because there's no humidity. So it's a very nice, cool 60, 65. And then obviously gets like, 40s at night sometimes, depending on how cold it is during the year. But yeah, you have to really watch your plants around here, basically, is what I was saying.
Me and Alison are just doing mental math, trying to remember how like cold 65. They're like, what is that Celsius? Is that like 20s?
I think it's 30s because it's 32 or 35 difference.
86 is 30. That's what I keep remembering. So it's got to be like 20s.
So yeah, 20s. There you go. Yeah. So
Okay, but that's comfortable. That's like our
nice.
summer temperature.
Yeah.
Oh, we get up to 40 here, which is, I don't know what, it's over 100, I think. But I know everyone's always like, oh, Canada. And I'm like, yeah, you don't know what.
40 is like the 90s.
Oh, they're on the coast.
Here.
Is it? Yeah. So it's like, it gets pretty warm.
Yeah.
We get into a heat
Beach
wave
weather.
if it gets above like 32 for like a couple of days. That's classed as a heat wave.
Yeah, that's how Russia was. Every 4 years or so, we would get into like 30, 32, and that would be like the hot summer.
You know what we're doing? I feel like this is such a British thing talking about the weather.
I know.
Because I'm on the podcast.
Oh, I would say we do that in BC too. I think it's anywhere where the weather like changes
It's unpredictable.
dramatically.
Yeah.
I was like, what's it like? And we also, the hilarious thing in BC, which is British Columbia. Nobody who lives in British Columbia calls it British Columbia. Everyone calls it BC. But we also, because we're so mountainous, I was talking with a friend, like we talk about the weather and we talk about the snowpack, which is how deep the snow is on the mountains.
Oh,
And we
that's
talk
funny.
about like the water levels. There's like always something to talk about. We're like, I wonder what the snowpack is this year. How is it compared to last year? Blah, blah, blah.
Okay, guys, you've come
Whole
for the
other
books and
level.
you stay for the weather,
Oh,
apparently.
We'll be done now. The weather today is
Yeah.
very normal here. It's not very exciting.
There you go. Okay, awesome. So I'm glad Alison is back on the podcast, even with the weather talk. No.
Especially with the weather talk.
But Joanna, what have you been up to? You have some exciting news too, in case, our listeners didn't know.
Yeah, I had a book release a couple weeks ago. It was book 2 in my Fae series called Hiding a Fae Queen. So that's pretty exciting. But over the weekend, we watched Raya and the Last Dragon with the kids. And it was so good. I don't know if
It's
you
so
guys have seen
good.
it.
We've watched it too.
For right now, you have to have like the Premiere access. But I think by the time this podcast comes out, it'll be available to any Disney Plus subscriber, so you can watch it on there. But it's so fun. It's about this girl who is trying to save the world and find the last dragon. And as it starts out, it kind of feels like a hero's journey where she's by herself. And then about halfway through it, all of these people started joining her. And I was like, oh, this is the heroine's journey. We have to talk about it.
It has such a classic heroine's journey, like so many of the things in it. Like she's kind of in disguise at the beginning, and that's one of the things. And like she has to enter like the dark underworld area with all her friends. Like it's all like all these little things. I was like, it's such a heroine's journey. And then like the whole point is just learning to like trust each other.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. And that you're stronger together than you are alone. And I was like, I love it so much.
It's so good.
Your kids are over here enjoying it, and you guys are like taking live lessons from it.
Yes, exactly. Well,
Right,
I don't know. How did your littlest one do with it? Was she scared at all? She's a little older than mine.
Yeah,
like mine is just 4, and yours is like 4 and a half.
Yeah, actually, mine will be 4 or 5 when this podcast airs.
Oh, she's almost 5.
She's almost 5. Yeah. I mean, she like clung to me a couple times during some of the more intense parts, but she liked it overall. In fact, the kids woke up the next morning and watched it again, like 2 times. So they all love it.
My daughter, my littlest, was talking about how like she wanted to make the same movie but without the Droon in it. She was like already like it'd be like this and have dragons and things, but no Droon.
No bad guys.
No, and then they were playing because she was on my lap the whole time with that, and then they were playing like dragons on the trampoline later, and one of my kids' friends was pretending to be a Droon, and she just started crying. And I was like, oh,
they are scary. Those Droons are scary.
Because they're just like mindless things that turn you to stone. Like there's no like sympathy for the Droon.
They kind of like
there's no humor.
Like, mist thing that as soon as it touches someone, they turn to stone.
Yeah, it's like more like an elemental thing than like an actual antagonist.
Interesting.
It's good.
I might have to watch
good.
this.
It's so good. And I thought like you never know with humor in those movies if it's going to be good or not. I'm like, I should just trust that Disney movies do it well, because like Awkwafina as the dragon, I was like, I don't know about that. And then I watched it, I'm like, oh, she's funny, and she's like just heartfelt enough too that I thought it was really good.
Anything with a dragon has me.
Oh, it's so
yeah.
But we don't have Disney Plus, so I guess I'm gonna have to wait a while.
Our friends got it. We watched it with them.
There you go.
Her kids like ordered it with their own money because they were so excited because they love dragons. So
That's cute.
I think my in-laws might have it actually. I think my in-laws might have it. So yeah.
You should watch it. It's cute.
Yes.
That's cute. Well, I mean, I got Disney Plus for myself for all the Marvel stuff and the Star Wars stuff. So
yeah, that's the other reason we have it.
Yeah. So I guess I could probably watch this. No, it was already on my list, but like I have to be in the mood to watch a cartoon. I don't have children, like the one person in this group. So
I would just like
I don't
to
watch
point
stuff
out
like
that
that.
I watched this stuff before I had children. I've always been like,
Well, I
Yeah,
do too.
me too.
Yeah,
one
I
of
do
those,
too.
like, Disney movie people.
But I just have to be in the mood because I don't watch anything right now. So I have to like, if I'm going to watch something that's like different from my scheduled quote unquote episodes or whatever, I have to be like,
You have a TV schedule.
yeah, I do. Yes. To get
put this in
anything
your
done right
schedule.
now. Okay. I mean, if it's going to help me as a writer, I'm all there.
Definitely.
It definitely
You just-
will.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Nice.
Disney knows how to write like a marketable story, like a clear story arc that you can see. I
Yes.
think that's part of how their movies work.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. Well, Hannah, what about you? I mean, I know you kind of already updated us, but
Yes.
what else have you been up to?
Well, I was like, I have the fun thing and then the not fun thing. So my fun thing is that this year I've been trying to work a little bit less because I was finding last year I got really stressed out. So this year I'm sewing more because I love to sew, and I'm sewing this like, I'm calling it my fairy tale princess dress. It's more like, I don't know, Renaissance than fairy tale, but I feel like a corsety front and this like big skirt, and I'm excited about it. So like check out my Instagram, see if it's up yet. We'll see how when I'm allowed to show it, because it's for a pattern test, so I have to wait till they say I can show it off before I'm allowed to. But I just felt I needed more princess in my life. I also ordered elf ears off Amazon. for my Instagram, and
Those are so fun.
I'm just going for it.
Yes.
I know, they actually look pretty good.
They
They're
do.
like really cheap, and they
Mhm.
just hook behind your ears. They're not like the ones that stick over your ears. They just kind of like loop. So like in real life, you look at them and you're like, oh, you've got plastic ears stuck behind your ears. But on in a photo, they actually look pretty cute if you do your hair right. So I was like,
Yeah.
yes, I am a fairy princess. That's what it comes down to.
It's true. I mean,
It's just
yeah.
kind of, I'm just becoming more my fairy princess self
Yes.
as we go. I know, but the sad thing is this week, we've had chickens for a year now, like chickens for eggs, and we had to put one down this week, and it is my 4-year-old's favorite chicken, and we haven't told her yet, and I
Oh.
don't know yet how we're going to tell her. It's named Pepperoni. She named it herself.
I was going to say, you haven't turned it into dinner, have you?
No. So I was saying we co-parent our chickens with our landlady. Like we go half and half and do half the chores and everything with them. So she was in charge of dispatching the chicken because she doesn't have 3 sensitive children to
Yes.
deal with. And then I don't know if she's going to or not. She was trying to decide if she could or not, and I was like, I cannot serve my children their pet chicken
Yeah.
for supper,
that's-
right? Like, even though like I grew up farm girl and I was like, well, you gotta make soup or whatever. But then I was like, no,
Right.
I can't tell Cora she's eating pepperoni. We can't do it. It's impossible. It can't be done. It's all very sad. But we're hoping to get more new chickens soon. So I keep trying to cheer them up with like, we'll get new chickens. But I still haven't broke it to the 4-year-old. And my kids were like up half the night sad. So it's actually been quite tragic here because it's our first chicken. Like chickens only last 2-3 years. So this is gonna be something we're gonna have to get used to, but we are not currently used to.
That
Oh,
is sad.
sad.
Yeah.
So now I'm
Yeah.
getting like upset about. I'm
Aw.
not even like I'm a little sad about pepperoni. I mean, it's not nice to lose
Well,
an animal, but
yeah.
I'm mostly it's just like my mama heart is just like sad for my kids
Yes.
that they're so sad because they've never lost a pet
Yeah.
before, except for we weren't that attached to the fish, you know. So
It's a bit harder to get attached to fish.
I remember crying the
Yes.
first time my first fish died.
I probably did too, honestly. I'm always like, it was a live thing in my care. Fish are hard
Right.
because I
Yeah.
usually died because I don't know why, but like this chicken, it wasn't my fault. It's not my fault.
I don't know why. Well, that's
Fish-
exciting
No,
stuff.
I know, good times. Now I like brought the whole mood of the showdown, but
I mean-
I'm quite glad you're not serving them up to it, though.
I know.
My husband's parents had chickens, and they used to have a cock, which my mother-in-law found so annoying because he used to like screech in the morning and
Right,
wake them
yeah.
up, and he was really bolshy. Like he would, he'd kind of snap at you and. Anyway, so they had this cock, and my husband went home for like the weekend once, and they were sat down on like Friday night for dinner, and he was like, "This chicken stew is like it's a little bit tough and stringy," and his dad was like, "That's not the chicken," and he was like, "What do you mean?" It's like, "Yep, cock took one snap too many at your
Oh my
mum's fingers," and he got dispatched and put in the pot for
well, I
dinner.
mean, maybe in that case, it's just like
Wow.
revenge. Pepperoni was a very kind chicken, so we don't have that sort of
Yeah,
thing.
sure.
But I know roosters can be a little like we don't have a rooster right now. We're thinking of getting one just temporarily so we can have chicks because that would be cute and adorable.
Oh,
and fun.
that would be so cute.
I know, but yeah, I'm like my 4-year-old goes in there by herself. I'm not having a rooster full time because sometimes they just are just mean, and then maybe they deserve to be stew. I don't know. Sorry, vegetarians listening to the podcast.
I
I
know.
just don't think they taste very good, though.
No, you're really like older chickens are not.
This podcast is just all over the place.
No. Okay. But
No, I love it. It's fine. I love our
This is
like
like
hectic
the
energy.
Farming episode.
So what have you been up to,
Yeah.
Valia?
like our plants and our chickens.
Your gardens.
Yeah, basically, apparently.
This is my life. Rural BC Hannah.
Well, I don't have any chickens or anything like that. Obviously, I already talked about the garden, but I've just been writing and working and writing some more. you know,
And drawing a little
what
bit.
I do. And John a little bit. Yeah, I've been obsessed with my little chibi characters lately.
They're so
So I've
cute.
been like going through, thank you. I've been going through like redrawing and like I want one for all of my books. So
That's
they're
what
all
I
getting one.
have.
Yes, Hannah inspired me.
I love the
But
chibis.
I do too. They're so fun. And like I think I finally found like the style that I like because I was kind of experimenting there for a while and trying like different different styles of chibis, and now I think I found the one that I really like a lot. So I'm going to like redo a few and kind of make them all similar but different in a sense,
If
and
you're a fan of
super
Valia's books,
cute.
just be on the lookout because we've seen her getting little stickers and things
Yes.
made, which is I've done that
I
too. I
love
love
it.
it. It's just like the cutest swag to have the little
Mhm.
little chibi of your character. If you don't know what
Yeah.
chibi is, by the way, I don't know if this is something everyone knows,
I had to look it
but it's
up.
like kind of an anime based style, and they're like very short and cute with big heads and big eyes.
Yeah, it's basically a style of art that's just like disproportional to normal people.
Yes.
Is how I explain it to
And because
everybody.
it's so like cutesy, I always find it hilarious to draw like because I do them for other artists. I do a lot of commissions as well
Mhm.
as or other authors, I mean, as well as my own books. And I love the like really like surly, angsty, brooding
Yes.
male characters, and you make them into like this adorable little chibi. And I always make them look like they're angry that they're so cute.
Yeah.
It
It
makes me
always
laugh.
it always makes me think of like, the vinyl pops. Like I love them, but some of those they're just so adorable and it's supposed to be like a villain or a mean character or whatever, and I'm just like, but I want to hold you and
So
hug you.
cute,
You're
yeah.
so cute. It's the same sense. Sorry guys. I'm just getting a little excited.
Should
But
check out the Instagram. We should put some in the slides for this podcast when it goes up so people know maybe what a
yeah,
chibi is.
definitely. We should. Yeah, we are utilizing the Instagram a little bit better now. So if you guys want to know more about the individual queens that are here, you can check out like the story highlights and stuff like that. That's on there. Look up the books, Joanna's book that just came out and Alison's if you're into that thing, which you should be because come
at
on.
Reading Queens Pod, right?
Yes, it is. So definitely check it out. And we have more books coming from the queens. So
Always
also
more
be on the
books.
checkout. I know. I do love our little queens group because there's just, even if I don't have like anything to read, I always have something to read because you
Yes.
guys just keep putting new stuff out. So
Some of us
It's
slower
great.
than others, but we're working on it.
but it's still happening, and
It's
that's
happening.
the important
It's
part.
happening.
Exactly. Yeah, so speaking of books, I did have a fun question for you, and we've talked about like favorite main characters and all that stuff, but I wanted to know who is a character that you would want to be best friends with and why. And it doesn't have to be like a main character. It could be a side character or like the best friend or whatever already, but yeah, I want to know. So Hannah, do you have one? On the spot.
On the spot. I know I was trying to think about this because Valia does like let us know these questions ahead of time, but I didn't check my email until like a half hour ago, so I was like, quick. And then I'm thinking of Sophie from Howl's Moving Castle. It's like,
Okay.
Have any of you guys read that or watched the movie? She's a little
haven't.
different in the movie than the book, but
I've seen the movie. I haven't read it, but
Okay.
I love the
you
movie.
must read the book. You must. It is delightful. It is different than
I
the
mean,
movie, but
actually,
they're
you
both
say that.
amazing.
I think I might, because it's quite old, isn't it? I think I might have read it.
I think it's like,
years ago.
80s or 90s. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I might have
That's
read it when I was a
old.
kid.
Just kidding.
And I have read
Apparently.
because I did read some of her books, so I think I probably have read it, but I don't remember it because it was so long ago. So I remember the film.
I'm talking about book Sophie, but I feel like movie Sophie is probably fairly similar. But she like gets to Howl's Castle and it is like a hideous disaster. So I always think of her when we're doing our like house cleaning times and getting rid of the spiders, because Howl's always like, no, my spiders, and he gets like all mad at her for like dishoming the spiders and like setting them out, and tells her he's not allowed to clean areas because of the spiders. But I would love to have a friend who would come over and like clean my house for me. And I feel like she's very no nonsense and practical and be like, Hannah, we're cleaning your house, and she would just like clean my house. So that sounds like I want a housekeeper, which is possibly also true. But She also, then I figure I could visit Howl's Castle, and Howl's Castle is a portal castle to like any world you want to visit, because you just like change the little doorknob and you can go into a different world. So like in the book, they're from like, some of the characters are from Wales, so they go like to like modern day Wales, and then they're in this fantasy world, and then there's other like places you can reach through the door of the castle. So I thought that would be pretty sweet. And she seems like she's not like the most like funny, fun, whatever, but I feel like we'd get along. She's like
she's nice, and she's like a nice character.
She's less nice in the books, but I kind of like that about her.
Really?
She's a little bit like
okay.
kind of turns into a grumpy old lady when she turns old, and then like softens a little bit as the book goes on. But so I'm picking Sophie because I think she'd help me clean my house, and I could visit the castle, and
the castle is pretty cool.
The castle is pretty cool.
And the house cleaning. I need some house cleaning. Let's not look at my office right now.
Oh, I know. I'm like, all this like creative
Let's all
energy
share
doesn't
Sophie.
necessarily lead to a tidy home.
Yes, exactly. Well, Joanna, what about you? Did you come up with one?
So
She's got a list of 10.
Yes, I have. No, I looked at this question and I had the more questions like Kristen did a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
With like, well, it depends on what world I'm in. Because if I'm in the Hunger Games, maybe I want to be friends with PETA. Or if not, I don't know, like...
It didn't even occur to me I'd be in the Hunger Games. That's terrifying.
It didn't occur to me that I'd pick Peter. I know. I'd go with Katniss. Why do you want Peter over Katniss?
I think I'd be too intimidated by Katniss.
I guess you wouldn't be hungry.
Oh, that makes sense.
To be honest.
That's true.
Well, my first thought was Rose Hathaway, because she's my favorite character.
She's your favorite.
And she's such a good friend to Lissa. Yeah, so she was my first thought. But it's like, I'd like to be friends with the Raven Boys and Hermione.
Yes.
And I'd like to be a part of the crew,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of good crews. I know, I was thinking that I would like to be friends with like the Aurora Squad and be in their crew, but I didn't actually, like, not during their adventures. Because I'm scared of the plant zombies.
Yes.
I really need to read that. Man, every time you guys mention plant zombies, I'm like, come on.
They're great. They all like seem to have fun and have good banter, and I'm like, that would be fun.
I think that's what I wanted, like a crew. So us queens got to stick together so we can be a crew.
Yeah, we are. We are our own really cool squad of people. I don't know where I was going with that. If an adventure comes along, we can totally handle ourselves, okay?
I think so.
I think so too. What about you, Alison? Did you have one or couple?
Well, to be honest, my first thought was Sam Gamgee, because then I would never go hungry and I would always have tasty food to eat. And then I thought about it a bit more and thought he might not be quite adventurous enough for me. So I think I then went on to Selena from Throne of Glass. Because all she does is kind of hang out, get dressed up in beautiful dresses, read books, so we could talk about books, and she also eats lots of food. So that would be a lot of fun.
She
kills
could protect you if you have any enemies.
I know, so she'd have my back if we got into a fight at all, if we were like stealing down to the kitchen to kind of get the cakes that have been left out overnight and get into trouble with any kind of magical monstrosities, and she can deal with that, and I can run back to the room with cake and eat it all before she gets back.
So she's a better friend than you then, eating all her cakes.
I think I'd be intimidated by her too.
I'm sure she intimidates pretty much everybody. Except for a few people, I guess. But
I kind of figure if you were like best friends, then you kind of are within the circle of intimidation. So like everyone outside is getting intimidated, but like that you can kind of, I don't know, be open with her and she's not gonna like strike you down just for saying something she doesn't like.
My favorite part was just that you just mentioned food. Like there has to be food, and whatever you guys are doing.
I was trying really hard to think of like a character that cooks a lot to be my friend, but all I could come up with Nina, because then we could eat waffles together. But Nina in King of Scars was kind of depressing. So I was like, I don't know. We'll wait for her to sort herself out and then see.
Then maybe we can be
I'll be,
friends.
I'll be
That's
friends
hilarious.
with her in Six of Crows, Nina. Sorry, Nina.
That's funny.
Blame
That's
Leah Bardugo
hilarious.
for that.
Yeah, that's funny.
Who would you have, Valia?
So it's funny to me that you guys all pick girls. Because I would just want to be best friends with a bunch of guys from books, which is so funny to me. Like, this is probably gonna sound really dumb, but like I would love to be best friends with Will from The Clockwork Angel because he's just such a jerk. But like, I feel like we would just have the best friendship. Like, honestly. And the same thing, like I like Zane from Jennifer Armentrout's oh my gosh, what is the name? The Every Last Breath or Every Last Kiss, that trilogy. He was like the little protective best friend, but I
The
feel
White
like
Hot Kiss one.
why yes,
Yes.
thank you. Yes, that one. So he was like not liked by a lot of people, but I think that he would just be like an amazing friend. And then also, this is a little bit on my side, but like my Skaska books, I would love to be best friends with Callista and Brendan because both of them are so different and just like she's really tough and everything and he's like the sweetest. And I think if I could be best friends with both of them, it would just be like the most fulfilling relationship ever.
I guess that's the fun thing about writing your own books is you can write like the characters you want to be best friends with.
Yeah,
Right?
it's true. Yeah, because I would love to be friends with any of my book characters, honestly.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would like to be
me
friends
too.
with mine too. And some of mine cook quite well, so.
There you go.
I have
You
my
do have a
baking-
cooking best friend.
Win-win.
She's
Yeah.
imaginary, but we get along great.
It's fine. It's fine. No, I think it's fun to write, I mean, obviously we love writing and it's something we love creating those characters and creating those worlds, but to think of them as real people and just be like, how would they get along in our world and get along with us and stuff like that. I know there's some characters that 100% we would not be friends. Because I think I would just want to like slap them on the regular. And I feel like that's not a good thing to do in a friendship. But I heard, okay. But I also think they're like really fun people to write or characters to write, but finding those characters that you absolutely love enough to like want to be friends with, I think that's like the best. I don't know. Small tangent there.
I
love
agree. That was part of my
But, yeah.
list, was one of my characters too.
Which one?
Emily from Inner
Yeah,
Dreams.
that's cool.
She's a lot like me. Not that I travel to the past in my dreams, but I put a lot of me into her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's your favorite series, right? That you've written so far?
Yeah, it's my best-selling series so far. It's my debut series.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me to see like the books that we love as writers. Like you guys know I love Of Water and Moonlight. Like Maddie and Aiden, they have my heart. But the Skaska books, like those really are just the books of my heart, and they're not my best written books because they're, I wrote them years and years ago and I've like just really grown as a writer, I feel like, since then. But I can't let go of those characters in that story. And maybe it is because it has like those Russian fairy tales and that Russian-esque that I grew up with and stuff like that. But there's just something about those books that I'm just attached to. Even though it's not my best-selling series or anything like that, I just love them so much and I just find that fascinating. Anyway.
They're a part of you.
Yeah, I guess that's true. And I think that's what makes great books too, is the books that are really written with the heart, that those are the ones that speak to people the best. And those are the ones that really you can see the author, putting a parts of themselves into it. And I love that about books and writing and just reading in general.
Just
Anyway.
stories.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I do find that makes it really hard. Do you find like when you put those books out though, like the ones which you feel are really personal to you, and you're like even more scared of how they're going to be received and whether people are going to love them or not?
Oh,
It
100%.
feels so much closer.
Yeah, it does. And especially like Joanna, like you mentioned, Emily is like the most you character. Callista is the most me character. And I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before. She's the least liked one out of all of my heroines.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, too bad. But I love her. And there's obviously parts of her that I wish like I was more like, because she's the better version of myself in situations where she can handle herself what I couldn't, or something like that. But it's just, yeah, you're right, Alison. It's like, it's so much more disheartening when people don't like those books. But I think that's where I really have to step back and be kind of more, I write for myself first, because there's going to be people who are going to hate your books. And this is getting probably a little more like in depth than you guys want to hear about because it's a writer talk. But yeah, you write for yourself first, because there's people who don't like puppies, who don't like chocolate, who don't like cake. Like there's
Who are
always going to
these
be
people?
something.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know some of these people.
I know.
Okay,
I've had friends who don't like chocolate, and I'm always like, how though? Why?
Right?
You know what? Maybe I would be best friends with them though, because then I could have their
There you
chocolate.
go.
There you go. But yeah, so there's always going to be somebody who doesn't like your books and stuff like that. But if you really just write for yourself and you put your heart into it, and then
the people who do like those books, I feel like
works.
you feel so much more connected to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I only have like one full novel and 2 novellas out in the world right now, and a nonfiction, but that does not have my heart in it because it's nonfiction. But then like the people that it does connect to, I'm just like, oh, you like saw inside my head and you still liked it. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I always
Yeah.
try and make my characters, my rule right now is that they are like me in one way and not like me in one way, so that
Okay.
I can like put something like really of myself into them without writing them super like myself, because
Right.
Isabel from The Rose Gate is pretty much me. So I'm like, okay, we can't write, because they all have different protagonists. I'm like, they can't all be the same.
Right.
They can't all
They
be
can't all
different.
be me.
And it's even really easy. Like I've got in my in the Wolfgate, in my Red Riding Hood one, it's just like she's a nerd like me, but she likes coffee and I hate coffee. But just writing a character that likes coffee was hilarious to me.
See, somebody out there does not like coffee.
We exist. I know I'm not alone, guys. Back me up on Instagram.
I don't drink it.
All right, get out. Just
We
kidding.
will not. We refuse. We are here. We like tea.
Yeah, which is funny enough that this is such, I don't know if I've said this on here before, but the whole tea talk, like I love tea now, but when I was younger, I did not like tea, and everybody was like, but you're Russian. You're supposed to like tea.
Oh, that probably made you like tea less.
Exactly.
I hate being told what I should and shouldn't like.
Yes. So I love tea now, but that has always been the case because I was like, no, I rebel against your prejudice viewpoints. Whatever.
I have a couple of friends who don't like tea or coffee, and I always have to remember, like, when they come round, not to just automatically put the kettle on and make them a cup of tea.
Anyway, I love these episodes where it's like just random. What are you gonna say,
Well, I
Joanna?
wanted to back up to what you were saying about writing for yourself. We have to spend so much more time in the world writing, because you can read a book like in a day or in a couple of days, but writing, unless you're Valia and write super, super fast, it may be a few months, it may be a few years. Some people take decades.
True.
So
I thought that too. That's why, like, I write very happy books. It takes me a long time to write them. Like, not like, happy all the time, but I don't want to write dystopian or horror or something, because I don't
you don't want to be stuck in that
think,
world for that long.
no, even though like I
Yeah.
can read dystopian, because reading it is, it's still longer than a movie, but it's only a few hours of your life. But to be in that headspace for months, I'm like, I need to be somewhere nice. Like,
Allison's like, I don't understand.
like it's interesting how your
honestly,
brain
I mean,
works.
I kind of do agree with that, because certainly, like, over the last year, like in my reading habits, I've got it back a bit more to dystopian, but certainly like last summer, like while we were thick, in pandemic and lockdown and everything was going horrible, I could not read dystopian.
I don't think
could not read
anyone
anything.
could.
Like, I wanted light, happy stuff. And actually that is maybe one of the reasons why I kind of have switched a bit from like writing dystopian to writing fantasy. because I wanted to write something a bit lighter. That said, I then do find myself when I'm writing automatically kind of going down into this. And I have to kind of pull myself back and go, no, we want happiness.
Like tell us about your unicorn sometimes. If I ever wrote a unicorn in my book, my unicorn would probably be like, I don't know, like pretty and sassy or something. But hers is like a death unicorn.
Yes.
I have a black unicorn, and then I was writing it and I was like, I need a reason why he's black and he's like evil. So I came up with this whole story about how he like trampled people to death with his blood, kind of changed the
Oh my
colour of
gosh,
his
I love
eyes
it.
from white to black, which is in my prequel novella.
Yeah,
Okay.
which I've read. I remember,
yeah, which you can get for free.
It's quite good.
On
It's
my
quite
website.
good. I think it's hilarious because like a whole ton of us are writing fae books and they're just so different. Everybody's.
Yes.
We're so different. You'd be
Mhm.
like, well, we're all writing like young adult fae. You would think that there'd be, I mean, there are similarities, obviously, but like all four of us have written fae books and they are four completely different fae
Yep.
books.
I love that also because like it's so fun to just see
It is so
somebody
fun.
else's like take on this concept of fae, right? And we're so different as individuals that it's like amazing to see how that translates to the story and the page and stuff. So yeah, I love it. Well, speaking of stories and books, I once again, in the next episode, we're going to dive into another one of our trope discussions. Yes, I cannot speak today if you guys haven't noticed yet. For those of you who are new, this is how it works. Each of us will pick a different book to read this week, all following the same theme. And if you follow us on Instagram, which like Hannah has mentioned, it's at Reading Queens Pod, you can leave your guess under this week's post, and see if you can guess it. But Hannah, what are you reading this week?
I'm reading Spin the Dawn, and I forgot the name of the author.
Okay, we'll write it out. I don't remember her name.
Sorry,
off the,
it's like something Lynn, isn't it? I feel like
Yes,
her last
I
name
think
is
so.
Alison Lynn.
Yeah. Okay, Joanna, what about you?
I'm reading Ready Player One by Ernest Cline.
I love that book.
Me too.
Allison?
Yeah, I love Ready
I've
Player
only
One
watched
too.
the movie. I'm like, I should read it before next week too. I feel bad. I
You
like feel like a
should.
bad reader to watch the movie and enjoyed it and never read the book.
They're quite
They
They
are.
are.
Heard
That's
that.
what I love about
Yeah.
both of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Anyway, so I am reading The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins.
Fun. And I'm reading The Testing by Joelle Charbonneau. Is that how you would say that?
That
I
sounds
think
right.
maybe. Yeah, okay, cool. I was like, wait, I can pronounce this maybe. And this might be an easy trope once again, but I feel like these books kind of cover a few tropes that could possibly be the thing we talk about. So maybe it's not so easy, but definitely let us know if you can guess. And if you want to know more about us, like I mentioned earlier in the episode, we do have like stories highlights, and we do have a website that gives you a little bit more about each of us. So yeah, just check it out. I post all the links in the comments, not the comment section. What is it called? The description section. Yes, it's all in there. So you guys can check it out. But yeah, thank you for listening to the Reading Queens. Before you go, please take a moment to leave us a review and follow us on your favorite platform. We greatly appreciate it, and stay tuned for next week. Happy reading. Bye.
Bye.